Howdy, this is Learn and Do with Peter on April 11th, 2024. And let me put in the chat the HackMD link, even though you probably already got it through Mighty Networks. I'll try to do that even sooner before this time. That was 20 minutes before the call, but I could probably do it sooner than that. There. And you can use that to kind of follow along on notes and kind of our agenda, and also you can take your own notes if you want, or make changes or whatever. Today we're going to do something new and different. We're going to start with RJ. RJ is going to do Learn and Do with RJ on Monster Mash. How you doing, RJ? I didn't think this through. It might be hard for RJ to do a screen share. Maybe he'll have to walk me through screen sharing on my computer. And RJ, we can't hear you. Must be a demo gods thing where when you want to show something, it doesn't work. Okay, while RJ is trying to get his audio going, I know it's frustrating, RJ. Yeah, I don't think we can. That means your demos. There you go.
Hello? Oh, okay. I think the cable just wasn't plugged in all the way. That's weird. That's the first time that ever happened. Okay, can I share my screen now?
Please, yes. And you think that'll work okay on the DSL?
I think it will. The only thing that may go wrong is sometimes the DSL cycles and it I don't know what it does exactly, but it creates a new IP address. And if that happens, I get knocked off the Zoom. So hopefully it won't happen because it happens very rarely, but it might happen. So I'm just letting you know. If I disappear, it's because the DSL cycled and created a new IP address for me. So I would be joining back really quick. Okay, so let me share my screens. And I'm going to share this one, that one, this one, and that one in case I need to point to it. Okay. I think I got everything. Okay, so, excuse me. So I just need to give you, oh, by the way, Peter, how much time do I have?
15, 20 minutes, however much it takes.
Okay, well, it could go for like 2 days.
I'll take 15 or 20 minutes.
Let me just show, hold on a second. Okay, so basically I just wanted to start with my why so you understand why it is I'm doing what I'm doing, both with Monster Mash and the different ways I'm using it. So basically, in the past, I explained on these different calls that I've been using Dream AI. And basically, what I like about my workflow with Dream AI is that I can get Dream AI to create an image that I want in the style that I want it in. And then what I can do is if the image doesn't turn out quite the way I want it to be, I can then use that image as a reference image, but first modify it and before I stick it in as a reference image. So just as an example, excuse me. So basically last time I explained how to basically do this. So like here, somebody said they wanted to make basically they want to make a comic strip with mushroom, a talking mushroom. And so what they can do in Dream AI is they could just put in the simple prompt, make me a smiling mushroom. And then what they can do is once they get the basic image, they can use AI to get rid of the background, added stuff that you don't really need, uh, to basically use that as a starting reference image. And then once you do that, you can do stuff with it. Like you can just draw in a hand very quickly after you run it in Paint or whatever you like to use to draw on your images with. And then you can upload it. Okay, so you upload it into Dream AI. You set the influence to be low. So that basically it'll take your image and it'll then create an AI version of that. So if you click generate, in this case, it's going to generate a better hand than the simple one you drew. Now, basically with that workflow, that's the basic workflow that I've been using, but I want to be able to do more. I want to be able to bend the image. I want to be able to morph it, to have it in the pose that I want. If something's slightly wrong with the image, I want to be able to modify it with a morphing tool and so on. So what I did was I did some searching and I found that one can do those kinds of things with a tool called, hold on a second, I gotta switch over to another, okay. You can do it with a tool. All right, hold on, that button's in the way. Okay, you can do it with a tool called Monster Mash. Now, Monster Mash was designed to be sort of like an animation tool, but a really simple, easy, fun animation tool. But the reason I ran into it is because it does more things also as part of the animation. So basically, to use this tool, it's very simple. There's 3 steps. And if you look at the top, you see the first one is draw, the second one is inflate, and then the third one is animate. So what you're doing basically with this tool is you can upload an image. In this case here, I clicked on this button and I uploaded an image to be like the template. And then what I did was I did the draw function, which was to basically use my mouse to draw around the image that I uploaded. So now it knows what it is in terms of its shape. And then what you do is you would click on, here, I'll show you that too. All right, so there it is. There's the image and there I drew around it and so that it knows what the image is. And then basically what you're doing with this model is it's turning a 2D image into a 3D object, sort of like a party balloon. You know those party balloons that you get? They're made out of Mylar, they're flat, and sometimes they're shaped like animals and stuff like that. Or different objects. Well, it's the same concept here. So once you upload your image and you draw around it, it knows what the shape it is you want, and you can make complicated shapes too. And then you inflate it. So in this case here, you click on the inflate button and it inflates it to be a 3D model. And it's doing some very sophisticated math to do all that. Now I'm just showing you a very simple object, but you can make very complex objects using this. And so basically, the nice thing about this is when you click on the animate button, now you can do some fancy things like you can do some morphing with it and so on, or you can do some animation with it. So right now I have this rotate mode switched on, which is this globe in the sort of upper right corner here. And so basically when I'm in that mode, I can sort of move it around and you can see that it's turned it into a 3D object. But if I click on now the control pins, in this particular case, I don't have any control pins set. If I go to the next window, I'll show you where actually set up some control pins. So here I did this step where I drew a hand in. For instance, let's say my Dream AI created an image for me that looked like this, but I didn't want the hand to be pointing that way. I wanted the hand to be pointing in a different direction. So what I will do here is I'll show the pins that I activated here, and I'll turn this off. Okay, so basically what I did was these red dots and the green dot are basically some pins that you can place wherever you want on the object to morph it, basically, to stretch it around. So if you grab onto it, it basically it stretches it around as this 3D object, and it sort of acts like a puppet almost. So in this case here, what I did was I drew the hand. So you can see here, I'll go back to the draw button again. So there's the hand that I drew, and I added it into the image, and then I inflated it. All right, so it's inflating it now. And so now, let's say if I wanted to make that image have a different position. All right, let me get this back here. Okay, so if let's say AI created this image just like this, and I didn't like the way the hand was pointing, and but the image was like really close to what I wanted. So what I would do is I would come into a tool like this. I would set the pins in there to morph the image. Okay, so let me show you the pins again. All right, so I'll turn this off so the pins turn red. All right, so so there are the pins. All right, and oops, sorry about that. I got to be careful. All right, let me delete that one. So then what you can do is you can drag the pins around to wherever you want, and you can morph the image that way. And you can also animate it. So in this case here, I've animated it just to wave very simply. I'll click on the animate button. Go. All right, let's see if it'll go. Let me click stop. Hold on a second. All right, now it's starting to go. So basically, that's an example of what it can do at a really super simple level with animation. And you can start to build on the animation in many, many different ways. You can make the face move. You can make all different kinds of parts move. So it's a very sophisticated animation tool, but it's very simple and easy to use. And I use it basically to move parts around to allow me to morph images. And I also do more sophisticated things like you may have seen here. Okay, so you may have seen this animation that I did here, and actually I put it in the competition. I don't know whether you noticed it or not. So what I did was I had an image that I was really fascinated by that I made with Dream AI. It took me a while to figure out how to do it, but I had it. I was able to get Dream AI by creating prompts to create an image of this character holding a magnifying glass in front of one of its eyes and magnify the eye. So it was quite a tricky task to do with Dream AI. You might be able to do that easily with other sophisticated image generators like Midjourney or DALL-E or whatever. But for Dream AI, it was a tricky task to do, but I got it to do it. Now, this was a while ago, a couple of weeks ago. But that image always caught my imagination. And once I learned about this Monster Mash tool, I realized I could animate this image and make it look like it was actually moving. And the way you do that is you use the same techniques that I just showed you earlier, where you set up a bunch of pins. And then, so for instance, I started out with the eyes. I created first a circle around each eye because I don't want the whole head moving, right? And then what I did was I set up these 3 dots here for each eye, in the case of the big eye. And then I started to animate them by dragging them around and clicking on the record button. And it recorded the motion that I impacted on the image by sort of acting as a puppeteer, by dragging it around. I'm acting like a puppeteer holding a string, okay? And I was recording that, and then you just keep on building on that. So for the other eye, I simply copied the animation. You go over here, when you select an animation, you can copy it. So I copied the selected animation and I pasted it onto the other eye. And then I thought, well, I want to get the mouth to move too, sort of like it's, you know, how a person's mouth will often move the same way their eyes do. Well, I created a similar kind of motion on the mouth to sort of follow the eyes, but not quite really. And so that added on another animation. And then I thought, okay, I'm on a roll here. So I got the eyes moving. And then I got the eyebrows moving. So I did some, put some pins near the eyebrows. But again, I have to put pins all around the eyebrows because I don't want the whole magnifying glass to move and so on. So you always have to put a whole bunch of pins around what it is you're animating. Otherwise, everything will move. And then I also got the shoulder blades to move just to make it look like it was breathing. And basically, that's how I did it. Now, I also did some puppetry myself by moving the object around. Here, let me turn off the pins so you don't have to see the pins. All right, so it's animating now. It's moving around. I'll click on the animation button. All right, so it's moving around. But what I also wanted to do was make it have more of a, moving around look in other directions. And so if I click on the button up at the top here, that's for rotation mode, then I can actually get it to move around like it's a 3D object. See, so that's basically how I did the animation that I entered in the competition. So what I did was I acted like a puppet master here, a puppeteer, and I moved it around how I wanted to. And when it got to a point where it was looking forward, I stopped it and I let it eyeball the person who's viewing the image here. And so that was my trick to doodle. It was actually all very simple and a lot of fun. So if you want to play with animation, you can use this tool. If you want to play around with morphing your image and you don't have another fancy tool to do that, you can morph your image. And I'll show you just quickly an example of one of the things that I did it for. Where is it? Where's the basketball? I know where the basketball is, over here. Okay, so I was getting some really cool images that I wanted for basketball poses and sporting poses, but I thought, well, oh, if I just modified this, it would be even better. So I found that this tool is actually really good at that. So this one actually had the leg, the leg on the left side of the image was actually extended, like it was jumping up from the floor with it on, but instead I was able to bend it. And then I was also able to bend the arm back on the left-hand side. So that sort of gives you an example of if you have a really good image that you really like, and you have a tool like Dream AI that will take your image after you morphed it and use it as a reference image and create a really good AI version of that, nice and pretty, no defects. This is a really cool tool for doing that also. So I think I've used up all my time now. I can show you a lot of other examples. And if you want, we can even do a demo where you can try it out yourself. But it's up to Peter because he's got a lot planned for today. So
That's awesome, RJ. Thank you. Does anybody have questions for RJ? I have one. How long does animating one of these things take, RJ?
I would say to do, let me go back to where I was doing this here. So, all right, I'll just give you an example here. So here's an object. This is like, if you go to the help button here, if you want to try it out, click on the help button right next to the here, and you'll get a whole bunch of little tutorials on how to do it. So here's an example. where you're just drawing this object and you want to animate it. So it takes literally minutes to, like literally less than a minute to do. So in this case here, you draw the circle, which is the body, you draw the leg, but you don't close the leg shape at the top. You leave it open, and that way it knows you want to connect it there. And then you double click on it so that it turns red, and that makes it know that you want a leg on both sides, that it's symmetrical. And then you click on inflate. All right, so far I've been talking for about like 20 seconds. All right, so now you have your object. Now, if this was, you were drawing this on top of an image, the image itself, let's say you had an image that actually looked like this and you uploaded it, you know, it would have the image projected on this shape that it created. And then to animate it, what you simply do is you click on the animate button and you define your basically how you want it to move. So you first you would click on like a pin on the body in the middle at the top because you don't want the body to be moving around. And then what you do is you maybe separate the legs so you can pin them separately. And then you just move one leg. Let's say you move the leg on the right side. You move that leg in the pattern that you see there. And once you get the rhythm going, here, I'll show you as an example. So let's say you do it manually, you just, now it's already pinned, so it's going to be stuck, but you do it manually in the shape that you want. Okay, and then while you're doing it and you're in a rhythm, you just click on the E button and that starts the recording. And then what you do is it'll keep on going. And then you do the next leg in the same exact way, and you click the E button to record it. And then bang, you got your recording. So normally to do something fancy like this, it would be very complicated. But using this tool here, which I think I messed it up by something I just did just now. But yeah, basically it'll be very simple and quick and easy to do. So I hope that answers your question. It's really simple and easy and quick. And if you're doing something complicated, like I did over here, oops, where is it? Like this animation that I did here, it doesn't take very long at all. First you do the eyes, it takes maybe 30 seconds to do each eye. Then you do maybe the eyebrows, then you do the mouth, then you do the shoulders. You can do it all maybe in couple minutes if you know what you're doing. If you're learning how to do it for the first time, it'll probably take you a bit longer.
Yeah, I feel like that'd take me half an hour at least. But
No, it really does. It does not, because the nice thing about this tool, it's all it's very, how could I put it? Let me
it looks
turn off the,
intuitive.
it is. They designed it that way on purpose. Here, let me get rid of this guy here. Okay, so basically what they did was they designed this on purpose so that when you make an object, you can basically just drag it around. So in this particular case here, let me drag this guy. So it's like it automatically has like a connectivity to it, like it's a real shape, like it's a real object. It's just something that they built into the math for this. There's a lot of extremely complicated math going on to do this. So if I were to do the animation recording, what I would do is I would play around with something that I think looks good, just like I'm doing right now. And then what I would do is I would click on the E button with my keyboard while I'm doing this with my mouse, and it would start to record it. And I just have to do that for one loop. And then what'll happen, it'll keep on moving. And then I grab on the other leg. And then while the one leg is moving the way it's supposed to be, then what I do is I move the other leg in the right timing just once, and then it's locked in. And the cool thing about it is each of these recordings you can copy and paste to another object or another leg or whatever. So that's what made it very easy to do this, because I did one eye, or I did these three dots here to do the one eye on the left side, and then I just copied that recording and pasted it to the eye on the right side, and then the mouth I just sort of like moved around how I wanted it to move around, a little bit random, but sort of like the eyes, the eyebrows. I just sort of did one, and then I did the other. The shoulders to make it look like it's breathing. I did one, and then I pasted it onto the other side. So it's really actually very quick and easy to do, and they designed it that way on purpose. So because
Super sweet.
yeah.
It's really amazing, RJ. Thank you for giving us the pointer. Golf clap. Awesome work. Um, any more questions? I was also going to show off a thing I got started with in Monster Mash.
Oh,
I
you
wasn't
got
brave
something
enough to.
started. Okay, cool.
Well,
Let me stop sharing. You can share.
okay. Um, I wasn't brave enough to. I just started when you started, RJ, just now, and I wasn't. By the way, this is one of the help things. If you click on help, it's got a bunch of example gallery stuff. So you can click on one of these and load it, and then play around with it. That was kind of the first thing I did. So, you know, they took a giraffe picture and then inflated it, and then they've got it animated there, and you can see the paths like RJ was doing. The thing that I did, and it took me almost as long in Midjourney as it did in Monster Mash, is like, okay, Midjourney, I need a goldfish on in front of a blank wall, and like, you know, Midjourney, man, is not good at isolated things. It's just not. So so anyway, so I finally got a goldfish I liked, and then I loaded that with import template image, and then I drew the outline of it, and then I inflated it, and so now it's 3D. So that's as far as I got. And I could start putting pins
And
on here.
if you had a fancier tool like Blender, a free 3D tool, you could actually clean up the image and make it more perfect. You know, like
Uh,
in the
yeah,
front there. Yeah,
or you could make split fins or something like that. I'm actually
yeah.
pretty jazzed with this. I like your analogy of the Mylar balloon too. This looks a lot like a Mylar
Yeah, it's like
balloon.
a party balloon basically. And you can also, put on other shapes to this and move
Yep.
them around, or not necessarily for animation purposes, just because you want to have it positioned in a different position.
Yeah. Already you can see, I don't know if you can see that through Zoom, but oh, I put a pin. Uh, you can see that even without the pins, how do I remove a pin, RJ?
You just click on it and then hit delete.
Delete. Even without pins, if I drag it around, you can see it's a little bit squishy and 3D-ish. So I'll play with that later. Awesome.
Yeah, just think of it as a morphing tool,
Yep.
or so you can like reposition. Now, I've also played with like changing smiles and expressions and poses, and like I said, it what it does for
Quick
me
and
is
intuitive.
it saves me from having to prompt the AI, because prompting an AI to do exactly what you want can be a real pain in the neck. But if
Yep.
instead you can take an image and use it as a reference image that you've already either added something by drawing it or changed it by morphing it, then you could put it back in as the reference image and say, make something just like this, except make it, perfect, make it look nice. And I do that with Dream AI, and it's very efficient and practical. Saves me a lot of prompting effort. I don't have to prompt very much at all now.
I like it. I just scrolled through the help here. The help is actually helpful. You can kind of just follow along what RJ did, but reading the help is probably useful too. And then I actually like the background of this kind of stuff. I think I found, looks like their link is broken, but um, there's also a paper you can read if you're into reading papers.
And you can load it too. It's on GitHub and you can load it to run locally.
There you go. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good idea too.
Yeah, someday I'd
Okay.
like to, if you could show us someday how to load it locally, and I'd like to try that because I think the local version is a little bit more advanced than the web version that they provide here.
Cool. I'll put that, let's see. I'm gonna make a new section for another time. For another time.
And another reason I like this, I've been pursuing the idea of like telling stories with pictures.
Yeah.
So I think this could help me because sometimes you want to have some sequence of motion shots
Yep.
that are almost like if you were to take a picture of something. So I don't necessarily want to animate by telling stories with pictures. I would just want to have it have a set of pictures that show a sequence of moves. So if you can
Yep.
animate something and then take those snapshot of those poses and then put them back into Dream AI as reference images, it'll make the prettied up version of it pretty much the way it's supposed to look per the pose, but prettied up. And then I'll have a set of images that show a person like maybe doing a basketball shot. First they're down low, then they're jumping up, then they're up at the top. And I can sort of like get a nice even flow of that motion by animating it because the math does all of the smoothing out and making it look like a nice natural motion like you just saw.
I
And
like it.
just take screenshots of those and then pump them back into the AI as reference images. So that's my workflow I'm thinking about.
Very smart. Imagine taking this horse. I feel like I could take this horse and animate it now.
Yeah, you
Um,
could, definitely.
not live, baby, but
And if
I'm
you just
feeling
wanted to have a set of
empowered.
like 3 or 4 images that show the horse in motion, not
Yep.
trying to animate the horse, just trying to have like 3 or 4 images saying, look, here's the horse. And here are 3, 4 different shots of it galloping, and I think it would be doable. And you wouldn't necessarily take the shots from Monster Mash. Again, you would pump them back. You would the end product would be taking those shots from Monster Mash, 3 or 4, putting it back in as reference images, like into Dream AI, which can take a reference image, and then it'll create a prettied up version that looks almost identical to your reference image if you have the influence set on very low. So that's the workflow. I don't know if people understand all that, but that's the workflow that I've
Maybe
been
let's
pursuing.
do that at another time as well. How to
Yeah,
morph an image and use it as keyframes,
yeah.
keyframe reference images.
Because I found that saves me so much work. I really don't like having to
Yeah,
spend
it's hard. It's
tons of
hard getting
time
the,
prompting. Yeah.
yeah.
So if I can give it a reference image
Yep.
instead that's shaped the way I want it to be with the right expression and the right image to begin with, it'll just take that and it'll make a really nice image out of it just the way I want it to be.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it saves a lot of work.
Um, Thanks again, RJ. Awesome
You're
stuff.
welcome.
Let's move on. And even though I think I could do that for a long time, I'm a little bit shy too until I know the tool better. This is what I wrote up in topics. Jankifier is in this week's news. I also put Salamander on here and the massive web ecosystem. I'm not expecting to cover these unless there's popular acclaim. Salamander was it was kind of taking the Jankifier approach and writing a front end for LLMs. Salamander was mine, and it uses OpenAI in the back. I've got a friend who took Salamander and morphed it a little bit, hacked it a little bit, So, and he called it Gecko. Gecko is hitting Claude, I think, instead of OpenAI. And then massive web ecosystem is kind of my Obsidian. It's funny, I want to say obsession here because I think everybody thinks I'm obsessed with Obsidian and Markdown and stuff. But this, I use these tools a lot with lots of different people as a way of managing information, creating websites, working together, all that kind of stuff. So if that comes up, I'd love to talk about it, but I don't expect it will. But let's talk about news. I've got a couple of news things, and I don't mean for this to be comprehensive at all, but um, there are a few things that I think are interesting. And thanks. I wonder if this was Danielle adding Udio. Um, let me do. Um, let me go through the couple that I noticed that are interesting, and let me start with Midjourney office hours. Uh, it's really interesting. I actually kind of accidentally ended up going to office hours for Midjourney. The CEO talks for like 20 minutes, kind of open mic, and then takes questions and stuff. And so it's probably always fascinating. This week was pretty cool. Let me run through the things he said really quick. They're working on social creation, so you'll join a room basically and work together with a bunch of people making prompts together. I don't know how that works. They're going to start with 10,000 K people and just a few rooms, but they'll branch that out after they feel like they know how it works. They're working on this thing called personalization, which is where you train Midjourney what kind of images you like, and then it will tune all of the images that you create to be ones that you like, kind of. Right now, they've got it set up so that it makes images that kind of everybody likes and kind of like they kind of think nobody likes. Nobody likes on them perfectly. Um, so that's going to be a big thing, really interesting. It's a little scary too. I kind of worry if I'm going to get boxed into, like only the things that I like, which I worry about a lot. 6.1 is coming out. It's got better hands better hands and body coherence, they call it. Also better at text and small pixel artifacts. They're tuning it right now. It's going to be out soon. They talked about release dates are hard to schedule right now. They're always a little bit harder in software, but right now they're working on 5 things all at once instead of one thing faster. Version 7 is coming along well. He keeps saying it's going to be pretty amazing. So that's not right away, but he talked about a thing called image captioning party. They need more raw material for the algorithms to understand text to images. So they did a bunch of, I think, automated captioning of images, and they want to get more human stuff in that. So the idea is you play with some tool that they've got and write captions, just kind of free text captions for a bunch of images they show you, and then you go look at other people's and you rate them as good or bad or whatever. Their data stuff is pretty amazing. If you go look, and I still don't have a good feel for who's got web and who doesn't, but even this, I think this would be available to anybody if you sign into midjourney.com. I think you could get to this ideas thing. So you can say it would be great if, I forget the one that I had, but then you can go through the ones, that they've kind of, I guess the leaderboard, you can go through the leaderboard. And the way they make the leaderboard is you go into this point score thing and they just give you like 5 random things and you take your 25 points and you plus up. He said they just added minus points, which I think is really interesting. You can take some of your points and say minus, minus, minus. But anyway, you scatter your 25 points here and click submit, and then you're feeding their algorithm. And he showed off a spreadsheet that they've got with, all the different things on the leaderboard and what different kinds of people from different countries or different genders or different classes of membership, what they thought of each of these. And then they've also got a column for how long each of those takes, so they can kind of get a, here's the ones that would be a quick hit and everybody would like it, or here's the ones. And he went into a long discussion, fairly long discussion about nudity demographics, which I looked, I took these notes on Wednesday or something, yesterday, I guess. I looked at it today. I'm like, Pete, why did you write nudity demographics? Why? What? But it makes sense. Somebody like Midjourney has got to deal with, like, oh, I want to make naked people. Um, or I don't want to see naked people at all, right? So they've got to cut that fine line there. And so he talked about that. It's what you would guess. The women don't really care for not safe for work images, and they don't really even care for tasteful nudity. The men tend to, the women tend to, the men tend to. The men tend to want the not even just the tasteful nudity, but the NSFW stuff. Danielle.
So I was going to mention that, like, I personally, I see that there is art in that, as long as it's tasteful, when it's the human form, I don't want like it being completely sexualized, but if it's like just for like I was honestly I was prompting this morning while I'm getting my son ready for school, and I'm like I had this like uh it was like this cloth that was over, but it completely showed the body of this woman, but like you could really make out a lot, but she wasn't nude, but you could make out a lot of her body. And I think that's tastefully done, but it was still a beautiful image. And so I don't think that all that there shouldn't be such hard guardrails, I feel, when it comes to that. I feel like, yeah, if it's a full on porn session, you need to go to a different site for that. You know what I mean?
Makes a lot of sense to me. It's a tough topic because I don't know. It's actually really interesting. It's really fascinating to me to watch where they're falling, the line has fallen. I want to show you a thing that I noticed. I've been getting this. I think this is, yeah. I've been getting this a lot, and I am not trying to make any like nudie images at all. But so I'm using my random prompts, right? And like some of the random prompts that I was doing, I guess especially when I cranked up weird or something like that. And I've always got chaos or variety, it's called on the web, cranked up really high. Um, like completely like innocuous words, and these warnings like popped up, and it's like, dude, that prompt was cool, but I don't know what I don't know what happened, but I'm not showing it to you. And then I'm like, oh, dude, like anyway, they've gotten very careful with their filters, and I kind of get it, because you don't. If I were running Midjourney, I wouldn't want to be, you know, having somebody say, okay, well, this image offended me and I got it from Midjourney, and it's like, I don't want that, so it's gotten very PG, which I don't know, is whatever it is. Anyway, it's fascinating to kind of see that play out, and the trade-offs they're making and stuff like that. You kind of get a vibe for where they're going with this. They really with the Explore thing. Another thing is, you don't want to be showing somebody Explorer, especially a kid or something like that, and go, whoops. Even here, there's a few that, and so I don't know. They've PG'd it pretty well, and I am okay with that, even though I don't know. Anyway, um, uh, so nudity demographics, he covered that probably only about as long as we did, but he had better stats and stuff. Unfortunately, his screen share on the spreadsheet wasn't working very well, but some of the ways that they were slicing and dicing the data was really cool. Let's see, VSEV, image capping, working on video. They want to make really nice video, so everybody else is crap so far. So it's hard to argue with that. Niji is working on video, and the anime video is going to be easier than photographic video, so their stuff should be really awesome. So that's the Midjourney. It's super fascinating to listen to, and it's only about, he talks for 20 minutes or so, and he's really chill, and I recommend it. It's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, Wednesdays on the Midjourney Discord. Super fun. Mixtral 8X22B is out like yesterday or something like that. And I, this is, I don't know, well, read about this in the news channel on Midjourney, and click on the link that I posted and stuff like that. It's just a really big open source model. It's so big that I'm not sure that you could run it easily. But I guess I like lots of data, and so when it said it was a 262 gigabyte model, yeah, torrent or something like that, I'm like, oh yeah. In the olden days, Netflix used to have like, they would have these programming challenges, tweak our algorithm to make it better, and you would download like, just a ton of customer ratings and rankings and stuff like that, and they had like gigabytes and gigabytes of data. And so I used to randomly download that stuff and junk up my hard drives with it. So anyway, that triggered, this is what triggered this for me. So I got to play with it a little bit. There's this cool thing that I can kind of recommend called Together.ai, which runs open source models. And let me do this real quick, and then we can come back and talk about it a little bit more if we want to. So I'm like, well, I do want to try Mixtral 8x22b. 22b is, I think, 22 billion parameters, and 8x means it's a mixture of experts thing. So this is kind of like big and cutting edge for an open source thing. And you can download it and run it on your machine if you could fit it on your machine, which you probably can. So on Together.ai, their thing is they've got a whole ton of open source models loaded. And they let you, their main thing actually is just to give you a unified API to it, which, another thing which sounds scary. Maybe we've talked about APIs enough that you can kind of guess that APIs aren't that hard to use, at least in the simple way. So Together, their deal is, hey, all you have to do is download our library and use it. It's open source. And then all of the, whenever you want to use a different model, you just say which model you want to use, and you go for it. So they're running the models in their cloud, and then you can connect to it through API. They've also got a little playground here where if I wanted to play with the new Mixtral, it's right here, poof. And it's funny, you have to make an account to use this, and then they give you $25 in API credits, which is very generous. Models cost like 10 cents for 1 million tokens or something like that. Mixtral, this one it's huge, so it actually costs $1.20 for 1 million tokens, but 1 million tokens goes a long way. So I found out something really interesting about this model. It's not tuned for chat, it's tuned for completion, which is, which I don't know if, so anyway, if you ask a question, why is the sky blue? So I was super excited to get to try this today, without having to download the whole thing. If you ask it a question like a chat bot, it goes into a loop trying to complete the thing, but it's not thinking about it. It's just completing the language. And so you can see it's going around and around and around in a loop here, talking about why the sky is the blue, and so it gets really confused. So so I think if I do something like, I think I might even be able to, let me just try it again, I guess. Oops. I'm brand new with this thing, so I guess I'm just going to reload. So if you make this something where if I do this, I think I'll get an answer out of it, much more like a chatbot. Yeah, it still goes in loops. So, so anyway, maybe you'll notice here, they did something interesting here. Because this is not a chatbot, the prompt that they give it in their little demo here is title : why New York is an incredible city, body : and then the completion will complete it in some reasonable way. So anyway, so we are kind of in a quest with Salamander and Llamaphile, which is a local model. What is a good way to run really great models for cheap? Together AI is about half of this. So if I go to chat playground instead of language playground, oh my gosh, a code playground, I have to play with that. If I go to the chat one and then pick a model that I am familiar, like a model that I've heard of, I would pick like Meta Llama 2 Chat 70B because I like lots of parameters. Now I can do like a regular chat thing. This ended up being my test question for, it's a dumb question, but whatever. And then somewhere in here it will say Rayleigh scattering, and then you can say something like, who is Rayleigh? I'm actually gonna misspell it. So Llama 2, I think Llama 2 70B is probably still only about like GPT 3.5, but it's getting better and better and better. Llama 3 is coming out soon, and these folks will be running it, and they run a bunch of other things, and they run specific stuff like code models and things like that. They're only running open source ones, so you can't go here and talk to OpenAI or Claude or Google, but you can talk to a bunch of open source ones, and that's kind of good because then, theoretically, if you really liked a particular model, you could download it and use it locally. So I've got a soft recommendation to check out Together AI if this looks interesting, and if it looks too hard, then don't, but we'll keep working on Salamander. Let me cover one more thing real quick. I saw this just before the call. A bunch of PhD students, probably with too much time on their hand, hooked up GPT-4 to play Minecraft, and it actually learns how to, it just starts playing and it learns how to play it. It remembers and it figures stuff out, and it sounds like a really fun thing to play with. So you can watch it playing Minecraft. This is all open source, I think. So that sounds super, super cool. And you can imagine, wouldn't it be cool if instead of Minecraft, it was, I don't know, writing emails for me or something like that. Danielle.
Okay, so could I like trick my kid into thinking that it was me and like whoop his ass?
I totally think you
don't tell him I
should.
said that.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't it be
How do I
awesome?
get there? Oh, he would be so mad. He's 8. He'd be like, Mom! Oh, it would drive him nuts. Where
I
do I
love
get
the idea. I think it's
Voyager?
going to be a lot of work, but
It would cause a lot of trauma. It'd be like a lot of like trauma later in life. My
no, you'd be
mom.
teaching him. He'd figure out
You gotta
how to
learn.
run
You
Voyager
don't always
himself. And
win,
then...
kid. You don't always win in life. Where do I find
I
it,
love your
Voyager?
parenting style, Danielle.
Tough love.
But seriously, it would turn into, you could show him the behind the curtain thing, and then he would turn into a
I'll
machine
tell
learning
him after
guru.
the fact. After the fact. After he thinks mom's winning for about 2-3 months. Just kidding. Okay,
And Danielle,
days
is
or
this you, Udio?
no, that was
Does somebody
That's
want
me,
to?
Pete.
Scott. It was
That's Scott?
Scott.
Yeah.
Even though I was the one posting in news that I got access to Udio.
Congratulations, Danielle.
Yeah. No, I tried with one email address and then it wouldn't let me. And then I tried with another email address and instantly I hit like roll the dice and like create and it let me in before it could tell me no. And so I got, yeah, I didn't let it say, oh, sorry, just kidding. Yeah, thanks for creating, you know, an account and everything. But no, just kidding. You don't get to play with us. So as soon as I hit, it let me. So yeah. But
So
yeah, good.
tips and tricks on how to game the system from Danielle.
Yeah, just like hit roll the dice real quick and create. Anyway,
Nice.
yeah,
I
good
like it.
job, Scott. Go ahead. Great job entering the video, Scott. Go ahead. Share your story, Scott. I'll be quiet now. Just, I'm totally kidding, being a smartass. Just kidding.
Do you want to share your screen,
So
Scott, or should you want me to share mine?
I
or?
can share my screen. Let me pull that up and see if I can share that screen. We had that, you might have to walk me back through it again, Pete.
Green button on the bottom where it says share screen.
Yeah,
And then it pops up a thing that shows your screen, your whole screen, and then a bunch of windows. So you pick whichever one makes sense.
so can you guys see the UDO on the right-hand side here?
Yes, dude, you got a huge screen.
Uh,
Which reminds me, I
something I
forgot
can
to
do to
make
make it
mine
easier?
small. I don't know. It's probably good enough. If you don't need to
Okay.
see us need us to see fine detail, I think it's probably good enough.
Not necessarily. I'll throw a link in the chat to this so you can actually like listen to it and then
On
see
the other
it.
hand, you could stop share, and then when you share, you should be able to, well, actually, now that's probably, well, maybe, I don't know. You might be able to share your audio too.
Okay, so if I stop share, and then how do I share
Yeah.
the audio?
You share audio with it.
Over on when you see your screen in the different windows, over on the right, under options, it says share sound.
It does. Excellent.
And it may or may not work. You
Um,
might need more permissions, but we'll see.
You know, do that. Says it can't detect my microphone. Interesting.
It might still
You
be
can still
okay.
hear me.
I can still hear you, yeah.
All right, I'll
And
put the link
maybe we
in.
can hear you, Dio.
I'll put a link to this in the chat so you guys can. So you guys will be able to look at this and like read the lyrics and stuff if you can't see it on the screen. But it's pretty simple. You just go up in the top and you type in the box a text prompt, and then you can pick from a series of styles. So you can do it in country music, you can do it in hip hop, you can do whatever, and you can just keep picking styles and adding it to mix them together. And then you say create or whatever it says on the right hand side, and it just makes a song for you. It's like 30 seconds long. And so I made one. Very first one I made was the prompt is a song about Learn and Do with Peter from the AI Salon, hip hop, rap, new metal, and fusion. So I made those choices, and it created a series of songs. It gave me two. They were all right. So I just had it remix it or to redo it, and it gave me two more. And I kind of like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And if you can't hear it, let me know.
Yeah, we're not hearing. Oh, yeah.
Dropping knowledge with that pizza flow. Stick a plug in, it's the AI show. Peter teaching while the beats explode. Metal riffs while the cyberspace
definitely
grows.
hear it.
Little world code dripping like it's gold. AI salon where the future's foretold. Learning, doing, breaking out the old mold. The mercy turners watch the revolution unfold.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
there
You blew out my
is a-
eardrum, Scott.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
You can blame Udio for that. They you can just type in a prompt and pick what kind of music you want. and it's free right now. I played with it for a grand total of, I don't know, 5 minutes while I was waiting for this to come online, and thought, man, this is kind of cool, and didn't know that Danielle was already on this. So I threw that into the whatever it's called, your
The HackMD, thank you,
HackMD.
yes.
I
There you
didn't get
go.
access till like 30 minutes before we got on here. So
Yeah.
you got there before me. It's okay.
It was,
I just boasted about it.
Okay, well, I didn't know. I just found this thing. I was like, this is kind of cool. You can make a song. You can put in your own lyrics. Like, you can write your own lyrics. I think you can put in maybe your own music and it'll write lyrics. Like, I'm not positive. I'm not all that.
This is the
I
one
just
that
did it.
Kyle shared on his LinkedIn yesterday and then was talking about on the AI Salon last night. He had a really good song that had like a duet. Were you watching that last
Ooh.
night? It had a duet and it was a really good like harmony, and it had like crescendo and everything, and he extended it because you can extend it even longer to make it like a
Right.
3-minute song. And so, but I have not, he got a like good one the very first try, and I'm like, my ones that I've done so far have not been that great. I mean, they sound good, but like I can't pick a good like sound to go with the lyrics is my problem so far.
Yeah, just a little bit of practice. I almost hate to ask, Scott, have you tried a Jenkified prompt yet?
I have not. I tried the single prompt that I told you, the AI Salon,
Yeah,
whatever.
the AI Salon.
Learn to do with Peter. Learn to
like
do
it.
with Peter. That's the only prompt I put in. I just kept reusing it and changing some of the parameters, like the different kinds of music, to see if it would give me some different options. So that's as far as I got. It's my entire demo.
Do you want to try a Jenkified prompt?
I could. Where am I going to get the Jenkified prompt?
Go to ai101.peterkaminsky.wiki. No, I feel bad that I have a long weird name, but yeah, there you go. And then scroll down until you see
Magnifiers.
topics. Yeah, right there. That's great.
All right. So do you have anybody have a preference here?
I had letterific or reverse. Reverse is good too. No, that's too straight.
We learned from Claire though that you have to read the script that it creates very carefully, because sometimes some bad words may be
yes.
stuck in the middle of long strings of letters, and then it may find those and then ban you.
Nice.
Also, there's a little tab that you can click over that lets you create your own lyrics.
The lyrics,
yeah. You can create your own lyrics for the song if you like wanted to create your own lyrics, like in ChatGPT, and then paste them in there. Like if you look up at the top where it says, I can't zoom in, but right below the little pink thing, below the pink, and then to the left.
It says,
left.
manual mode.
Manual. If you wanted to create your own lyrics, and that way you could paste in whatever you wanted it to say. If you did the Jenkifier, you could paste in your prompt right there down below where your cursor is right now. Oh, no, you just moved it. That's where you would paste it in right there.
Over here. Yep. So
I was maybe we should maybe I'll try maybe if I get a UDO account, I'll try the Jenkified prompt. I don't want it to break on you. I was wondering.
It might give you a warning, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it give you a warning first?
Yeah, it probably would. But I don't want to take responsibility for screwing up Scott's account.
Like if you're doing,
I think Danielle, you could.
I don't mind. I'll try it. I'll do it. I ain't scared.
You gonna share your screen?
Sure. I'll share my screen. How do I do my whole screen? Desktop. Here, I'll just do desktop. Do not judge whatever you see on my screen, because
do share audio too.
Oh, share sound right there. Okay, share. And then, okay. So I was, studio. Here we go. All right. So if I was in the Jankifiers, where was I? Learning to do. Is there a link for Jankifiers in here? Or
No,
Is there a link? How dare
there
you
should be.
not leave me a Jankifier link? I
I
have my
know,
AI
right?
resources for Jankifiers. Where are they? Learn to repeat. Here we go. That's not it, is it? Where are my Jankifier?
Do
Where's my Jankifier links? Do I
yeah,
have to
I'll
type the
put
whole thing in?
AI
What's
101
the link? Just tell me.
in.
AI. There it is.
Yeah,
Boom.
great. I would
Okay.
do letterific.
Letterific. Text here. What should it be? Come on, y'all. Come on. Give me something. Give me something good. Give me something good. Anybody, come on, unmute everybody. Give me some
If
words.
I were you, I would copy, add a random letter between the existing character. I would just copy from up there.
If I were you,
Go
and I was
with-
gonna say,
Yeah, that's a good one.
go ahead.
See, you
Go
gotta
and give
understand.
me something good. Do.
What if I were you? I'd get. How about if I were you? I'd get a clue.
That's
Yeah?
great. Yes.
See, Daniel, you can't ask Peter for a prompt because the whole reason he's doing this gentrification
can't
thing
come
is
up
so
with
he doesn't
prompts.
have to write prompts. He's
hell is-
trying to programmatically.
Click the
Get
copy
around
result to
prompting.
clipboard button.
Okay.
Yeah, RJ's
And
right.
then,
I'm not very creative,
oh yes,
or I
you
use my
are,
bots to be
please.
creative.
Right, you're
Oh,
trying to
okay.
program it because you'd rather not have to write the
Okay.
prompt. And I don't blame you.
So now I'm gonna do the whole where to go. What I was just telling. Okay,
Can
I
you
want
just
to do
click at the?
custom lyrics.
Yeah, there you go.
Command B, and then I need to make sure that I click that little tab thing that. Why isn't it letting me bring down the manual mode? Hold up. Not letting me click manual mode. Here, let me try and click this little tiny little lab right here. No, I don't want British folk. Go here. This is why. There. Boom. Okay, what kind of sound should it be?
I think
Hip hop,
you paste the prompt
R&B?
there.
No,
Good
this is
question.
you can. Well, we
Whatever
could do.
the opposite of
I got an
whatever
idea.
Scott. The
Yes.
opposite of whatever
Wait.
Scott picked.
Hold on a second. I got an idea. I'm gonna do this as what am I doing? I'm gonna and then put that as go away. Oh my gosh. And then I'm gonna do it as pop. Create. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. It's not gonna let me. I'm in my wrong account.
Aha.
Dirt. I'm in the wrong account. Dagnabbit. I need to go to my other. This is the account I need to be in. Ah. I apologize. Bear with me, y'all. Okay. You.com. Hold, please. Oh, is it gonna be mean? Yeah. Here we go. Sign me in. I am in. Sign in. Why am I? Here we go. Okay. And this was the other prompt, but then I want the jankified one, which was over on the other screen. Hold, please. Copy. Oh, no. Yeah. Copy. Yep. Now, oh, nope. Over here. Command V. And then we want to make sure it's in manual mode. And then create. See what happens. It's going to be like all. I don't know what it's going to do. I have no idea what it's going to do. Ah.
It's probably going to sound just like the music Scott got created for him.
Yeah.
That might be the
You know,
default.
it was working really fast for me earlier. You know how like last night, Kyle, it was taking him like 9 minutes for him to generate, but look, it's saying less than 1 minute to generate right now. So we'll see. We shall see. Come on, man. Anywho. I was trying to create songs earlier for Fold Rush, and they were not very good. That was taking so long. I think that the lyrics are confusing it. Oh, there we go. Let's see what it says. Okay, so brace yourself. It's in reverse.
I like it.
It wasn't bad.
Got the jank.
Backwards. I think it's saying it backwards. Okay, how do I make it stop? How do I make it stop? I won't stop. Oh, no, stop. Okay.
Sweet.
Silence. How do I make it stop? Okay, I don't want to share anymore. Can I stop now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Danielle.
Okay, so that wasn't bad.
I really liked it,
Right.
actually.
Now, somebody wrote K-pop. Now that's J-pop for jank pop.
J-pop, yeah, but it wasn't really that janky considering, what it was. So
I think it was pretty good, especially in the beginning.
yeah, the first one was better than the second one. I would say the second one sounded too K-poppy. This first one was more, I don't know,
I liked it.
tolerable. Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Then my turn's over.
Okay, let's talk about Jenkifiers a little bit more. Great demo of a Jenkifier. I wrote up like a couple lessons worth of Jenkify stuff. So we won't go through all of it today, but let me go through it real quick. Let's see what we get, where we get to. I'm gonna go through this again real quick. This is what we did last time, but I think it's good to kind of like think through this a number of times. So the trick here is that we're using a file on your computer, or we want a file on your computer, or maybe a different way to say it is computers work with files, and they have worked with files for like 50 years, maybe longer. Nowadays, a lot of our stuff ends up being on the cloud, and it's not really files, but all computers still use files. Phones and tablets kind of use files. They can pretend they do. So there's text files, which is just kind of like what we're looking at here. And when you save it to your computer, it ends in .txt. Text files can also be HTML, and they end in .html. HTML is kind of like Markdown, but lots harder. So then if you have a text file, that's HTML, you can load it in your browser. It can include JavaScript. You can get an LLM to write the JavaScript for you and the whole HTML file, and poof, you're off to the races. You can create, whoever you are, if you can use an LLM, you can get it to write a Jenkifier script for you. So then the thing that we haven't covered so much yet is what the Jenkifying process is. And I apologize. I thought this was, sounds stupid to even say it because it's clearly not, but I thought this was all common knowledge because this is something that I've been working with for literally probably about 50 years, which makes me feel really old. So text like this for a computer, an LLM can actually read this and make sense out of it, right? It can read this as language, but any other kind of computer doesn't know anything about this language. All it knows is that each letter is a number internally, and the numbers have particular things like, actually, I guess I'll do a show and tell. One of the really old number systems is called ASCII, and here's the letters. This is internally what the computer thinks A is. It actually thinks it's 65 and B is 66. So one of the things to notice here is that these are in alphabetical order and they're separate. The uppercase is separate from the lowercase. Not that that matters too much. And both of those are separate from the numbers and the punctuation, including spaces, a special punctuation. So we kind of use the fact that these numbers are like this, and they come in, let me do something really crazy, which I should have thought of before, but I didn't. Let me grab some random text here and turn this into a file called temp.txt. So ID-X temp.txt, maybe something like that. This, even though this looks like, I'm not showing you this because this is useful to you, but I can use this utility called OD. Let me do this one again. This is actually 2 characters together and it's in hexadecimal instead of decimal. But anyway, I can read a little bit of hexadecimal. This is a space character right here. And then I know these are probably lowercase like A or B or something like that. Sorry for the digression into code, but basically, oh, I guess what I was trying to demonstrate, and I did a bad job of it. Let me try one more time. There you go. So this thing, ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Exchange. It thinks of it as separate characters, and there's one more mode of OD, which I haven't quite found, where it would say this is 65, this is 70, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just like a kid's blocks. It's got these separate letters, and the quick idea I had with a Jenkifier is you can just jumble these up in some interesting way. SB stands for space here. So if you tell the computer, and remember, so the computer can't read this. It doesn't, you can't say switch these, you can't say translate this into French unless you're talking to an LLM. If you're talking to just a regular computer, Python code, JavaScript code, something like that, it's not going to understand this, but it does understand that it's characters and that the characters are a little bit different. There's space characters, there's numbers and stuff like that. So you can say things like, take this list of numbers and rearrange it. Put them in a random order, or find every space and put an extra character or something like that. So let me show you. We've kind of gone through this before, but this is an example prompt. This is as complicated as you need it to be. And if you copy this and put it in an LLM, let's do that. So you could copy this off of the clipboard or out of the chat maybe even, and give it to your favorite LLM. What you're doing, you're saying, hey, LLM, I want you to make a HTML file, and I want it to alpha sort each word in the string. And I don't know, I guess this is a little bit technical, but you just say, take some input and do something with a button and then copy it to the clipboard, basically. A lot of this, actually, I wrote this specifically so that you could copy and paste it and just replace the stuff that looks like it's where it's doing something. So leave anything that doesn't make sense. Like, why would you say input string user in a text area, Pete? This is Pete talking like a product manager for, but you don't actually have to understand it. And even if you left it out, it would still kind of work. So Scott tried it with Grok, and Grok, so this is a really good thing to do. This is actually really good in general when you're giving an LLM a lot of instructions. I didn't realize this until like a month ago, but this is a really good thing to stick in, because then it'll say, huh. So Grok asked a really smart question in here. It said, what do you mean by alpha sort each word in the string? And I thought this made a lot of sense. I guess me and ChatGPT have a lingo. I kind of thought I was writing this for ChatGPT. It knew what I wanted and it did the right thing. I gave it to Llama, and Llama did a different thing. So the thing that I was hoping that it would do was, let me show you a quick demo. And Scott, will come back to that question in a sec. No, I forget where I put it. Oh, I know where I put it. I put it in the Jenkifier directory. It's GitHub. So this is the local copy I have of the website. So these are all files on my computer. Let me make this look more like real stuff. So these are all the files on my computer. And then, as we've seen before, I push a button and it copies everything up to the cloud to be a website. Here's the sortor that I got ChatGPT to write. And probably I can paste that same string. Okay, well, let's use this one. Actually, let's just use this. So if I say sort, it copied it automatically to the clipboard because I told it to. I wanted to look at each word and have it sort the letters in each word. So halves turns into AHV, AEHV. Any stays the same. Questions turns into this, et cetera, et cetera. So I can just show you that if I do this, if I put those backwards, it sorts them the right way. Or I guess if I do this, it's already sorted. So then I put that same prompt into Mixtral, I guess. It was Mixtral. So Mixtral already, I'm still getting used to how to use it. It's that completion thing instead of a chatbot. So I probably had a little bit of static or friction there, but it did something completely different. It takes each word, or it looks at all the words and it puts the words in alphabetical order. This is not a very good example of it. There's a good one. So this is obviously an image prompt. So it puts all the A's together, and then B's and the C's and the D's and the E's and the F's, et cetera, et cetera. So this is like completely different than I thought. So Grok's got a good thing here where, you know, Pete's prompt is like, well, what do you mean by words in alphabetical order, Pete? I really did want what ChatGPT gave me, which I thought was really interesting later when I really wanted, so a serene coastal scene capturing. This is what I wanted. But the instructions are pretty short, so it's not surprising that I got this. And then Grok kind of wants, I don't really quite understand, but the sorting the words in alphabetical order while keeping the original. I think cat, dog, bird, cat, dog, bird. So this is, I would have to say this is Grok being, it looks like it's Grok being stupid. It's really smart that it understood that there's some ambiguity there, but it's asking me if I wanted to sort it but keep them in the, if I want to switch the order of it but keep them in the same order. So it asked me something tautological. It asked me a, you know, a nonsense question basically. And I think this is a pretty reasonable thing for a LLM to do, I think, because it's just trying to complete the stuff. This is a place where something like ChatGPT has to be a little bit smart and go, I'm not going to ask Pete if he wants the order to be the same, because he wants me to change the order. So I don't need to ask him if I want the order to be the same, if that makes sense. So ChatGPT does a little bit of reasoning that Grok is not doing there. So I would ding Grok on its intelligence there. Super interesting though. And then I think this is pretty good. I like that it understood that I wanted them sorted. It understood that I wanted them in a different order than they started. So it got that far. It did one interesting thing here. If you remember the ASCII chart, the capital letters are lower numbers than the lowercase letters, which kind of makes sense and kind of doesn't. So you'll see an interesting artifact here. Capital A and capital T sort before lowercase a and lowercase a and lowercase a. This is something back in the 20, 30, 40 years ago, a naive developer would say, oh, I want to sort a bunch of stuff. I guess even probably it still happens now. I want to sort a bunch of stuff, and they would get all the capital letters first, and then all, A through Z capital letters, and then they would get all the lowercase letters. So I don't know if I wish Mixtral had been a little bit smarter about that, and I feel like ChatGPT would have known that this would happen, and that's actually an interesting thing to try sometime. So I'd like to go for 15 more minutes. We're at time. Feel free to drop off. Do folks want to stand around and hang around a little bit more and finish out a little bit more Jankofire stuff? Let me find my screen share.
Peter, we're never going to be finished with Jankofire stuff. It's going to go on forever.
Well, yeah, we're learning stuff.
As long as there's an algorithm that could
Scott.
possibly be used, there's an infinite amount of algorithms, so there's an infinite amount of ways to Jankify.
Well,
gonna fix
and the
my
funny thing is we
settings.
haven't even we haven't really even gotten to the Jankify algorithms part. We're just talking about how to use them, whether they're safe. I wanted to go back over whether they're safe or not. Let's skip that for today. RJ brought up another one which I didn't write into the safety thing. You can make bad words with Jankifiers, and sometimes
It caught it on one of mine. It caught it backwards. Yes, on ChatGPT did when I Jankified a prompt backwards. It caught it.
There's other more like I remember the first time I was doing a Jankifier kind of thing. It was long before Jankifiers, but there was one word that it was rug, some very simple word, it would always, I guess Midjourney 5.2 was pretty sensitive. And once it found one word, you know, backwards, like star turns into rats or something like that, it's like, I'm gonna give you rats. I don't care what else is in the prompt. I understand one word and I'm going for that word, Pete. Six is a lot better. It doesn't get distracted by words in the middle, which is something I guess I like. What should we cover in the next 10 or 11 minutes? What burning questions do people have about Jenkifiers? Does somebody want to share their screen and build a Jenkifier? What should we do? Or should we come up together with an idea for an algorithm and have Pete make it? Because,
Yes. Let's come up with a new Jenkifier. Let's like
the
brainstorm
next
a new
Jenkifier I want to
Jenkifier.
do, you know, Vicky did a couple of the ones
Or
that I've been
brainstorm a
wanting
new
to do.
one.
Let's
What if we all
brainstorm a new
brainstorm
one.
one together?
Let's
Yeah.
brainstorm a new
Without
one.
not a Vicky one, an us one. No offense to Vicky. I'm just saying, why don't we try
Hers
to
were
think
really
of one
good.
together?
I like them a lot. An idea I had, which is going to be too hard to do in 10 minutes. I've got a 5,000 word dictionary. And so one of the ones I want to write is read these 5,000 words, pick out random ones and just stick them on the screen. But we won't do that one.
What about,
So
I
go
like
ahead, Paul.
I like Vicky's adjective one very much.
Adjective
Would
one,
it be
yep.
easy to make one with adverbs instead? See what that did?
Yes. And now, Paul, you get to pick. Should we hack hers to be adverbs or should we make our own from scratch?
I'd love to learn how to make one, but I'm
Okay,
I
let's do
can't
that.
do a quick study. It might be beyond my gray cells.
I don't think so. I think it's there's a lot of new stuff to learn, but none of it is really complicated, if that makes sense. If you can use an LLM, I think you can figure out how to do it.
Either way you're
Jenkifier.
comfortable with, I would love to watch.
I like your choice better because, well, they're both good. One of the cool things is if whoever makes your Jenkifier,
Pete,
yes,
I thought of another one. What if like
yes,
okay, sorry. I know we're on a roll with this idea, but
we're on
what
a
if
roll.
we had a Jenkifier that replaced words with a rhyming word?
I like it. And there's a
That's just an
trick
idea.
with that.
Well,
Let's do
then I'm
Paul's
sure you
first.
could figure it out, Pete. I'm
Well,
just
let's do
saying.
Paul's first. Yeah,
I
let's do
know.
Paul's
I'm
first,
not
and
saying do
then
it right now, but I'm saying that's an idea. What if it replace it with any word in the prompt, replace it with a word that rhymes with it?
I like it.
Okay. That's a thought.
We can't call it Cockney though.
What?
We can't call it Cockney.
Yeah, there's a standard linguistic thing called Cockney rhyming, which
I'm sorry.
which
We're gonna get
people from
bounced out of every single LLM.
Why you gotta be talking about cocks, Claire? When did that come up? Sorry.
let me do
I didn't say that.
So here, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT,
I'm
what is Cockney? I don't know where your mind is, Danielle.
Claire started it. Claire started it.
Oh,
Blame the doctor.
Claire figured out
She
how to.
said I wouldn't have even known the word.
Claire
but
figured
the
out how to do
doctor in
the subtle
house-
redirection there to make
The
Danielle
doctor in
take
the
the fall.
house. The doctor in the house was the one
She was just talking
who
about.
brought it up. She said we can't call it
So
this, and I'm like,
so here you go. Ask ChatGPT what Cockney rhyming is, and it won't give you any trouble because this is a real thing. So they'll take a word like stairs, and it's like apples and pears, and then that gets written to apples. So so phone is dog, and head is loaf, and eye is minces. This is a thing that happens in the East End. And you have to be careful with this word. I understand. Thanks, Claire. Yeah, that got off on a tangent really fast. Okay, so Paul's sitting there wondering how he can get adverbs. let's take this, I'm gonna put this in the chat and then save the chat with your 3-dot menu and stuff like that. If you just take this as an example, and go to ChatGPT, you have to have a pretty smart LLM. So GPT-4 will work, 3.5, and then like Grok has got a problem that we kind of, Mixtral, maybe, I don't know. So, and then just change the stuff that, so I want a different name, call it adverbifier. Take an input string, I don't know what that means, but whatever. Press the adverb it button. And then we have to figure out what this means. I have to say, I wrote this really quick and I meant to rewrite it a little bit to be not quite so jargony, but display the output sounds good. So let's replace this. Add a random adverb. And I'm going to make that a sentence because okay, Paul, there's a fair amount of jargon here, but we kind of ignored it, was the idea, and we just changed the part that had the guts where it does something. Does that make sense? Let me ask you, Paul.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I'm with you.
Okay. So then I'm gonna hit send, and it's chill. While it's doing that, let me explain a little bit. This is actually HTML jargon, which does a little bit better thing. You could have said in a text box or in a box even, and it would have worked. When you say text area, it makes a box with a drag handle on it. Otherwise, it might be just little like this and not. So there's a few little tricks in this prompt that are sweeteners that are useful. This other thing, don't use an alert to confirm the copy. That's just jargon you can kind of ignore, but it prevents it from adding an extra step to the copy thing for the user. Okay, so here's the code. All you have to do, I haven't even been looking at it. It usually just works. So you copy the code. You saw what I did there, right? Copy. And then let's use Notepad or TextEdit. And if you're using TextEdit, so you want to use Notepad instead of WordPad, if that's still a thing in Windows. So use Notepad, or on TextEdit, if it looks like this, it's in rich text mode, and I'm going to say make plain text. You can also use a different text editor. So now save this, and we'll call it adverbifier.txt. We won't put it in Pete's private
Pete.
stuff. Yes.
Pete, what do we save it as again? We don't there. Okay, wasn't there an extra step when we create a new one when we're doing the text, the new text?
I made the
Text
name
edit.
adverbifier. Did you want to know
I
about
know.
the format, or?
Yeah, I'm opening a new document. I mean a new
let me
text
do that.
edit. You're
Yep.
calling it, what do you call it? It's adverbifier.
Let me save this. I should have gone a
Okay.
little bit slower, but I guess we're pressed for time. In format, there's a thing that's rich text versus plain text.
Okay, that's right. That's what I
And
wanted to know. Okay, in format, rich.
The default one for TextEdit is rich text. You can
So
actually
do plain
change that.
text?
Yeah, and Danielle doesn't use TextEdit, I think.
No, she does not. So you went to settings?
Well, don't you can set.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, you can set in settings for new document, you can say, I always want plain text. Forget the rich text
Okay.
thing because I don't only use
Okay.
text edit for Jankifiers.
Okay.
So then save it as adverbifier.txt. Hope I didn't screw it up with that rich text thing. I saved it next to all the other Jankifiers. So then you can save it to
Save.
documents, make a Jankifiers thing or something like that. You don't need to do this part. You just need to find it somewhere on your computer. So now I've got a new thing here called Adverbifier, except that I saved it to the wrong place. I think I saved it right there. So I'm going to put it here.
I don't
Just save it somewhere where you can find it.
know where the hell I saved it.
Kind of like
I
me.
hit save. I don't know where it saved it. I mean, I hit file.
It's probably in documents.
Okay. Just continue.
So
Just
we
continue.
saved it
Ignore me.
as
I'll find it.
.txt. Now we're going to rename it in Finder or in Windows Explorer,
Fine.
File Explorer, whatever. We're going to rename it HTML. I haven't actually tried this on Windows. I think it will work the same on Windows. And it asked me, do you really want to make it HTML, not text? And I said yes. So now I can double click it. And then we can find some random text in place from this. This is great. I guess I'm gonna try a different thing. Adverb it. Yeah, it's kind of weak sauce, somewhat obscure, happily. So it got happily in there. Maybe this is a good thing that I kind of didn't do a great job doing the prompt.
Where did you get the 10 adverbs to put in there? They just picked them randomly.
What I was hoping it would do, let me see if I can find. So one of the things you can do when it's a web page, when it's HTML, you can right click and say view page source usually. So this is the same approach that Vicky took. Not that we would necessarily know that or need to know that.
Okay, thank you.
This is the wrong one. Let me close that. This is probably the wrong one. Let me close that. I said add a random adverb from a set of 10 adverbs. Yes.
Did you say to rename it .html
Yes.
or
After you save it.
okay? It's been saved and it's in text edit. It's in a text edit folder, not in a
And that's
documents
okay.
folder. It's in a text. Okay.
Yeah.
And then just add the .html to the end of it because that's how it worked last time.
Yep. That's what you do.
Okay, thank you.
So you see the output here, and let's try it again. We can do this. So what it's doing, it's suddenly, suddenly,
Oof.
loudly. It's just doing, it's picking, the way I said it, it's okay. In between random words. So it's doing it once. I was hoping it would do like, well, anyway, so this is kind of the bug in my thing. It picked two random words and it stuck an adverb in it, which is weak sauce. But it did the right thing. So good job, GPT-4. I was hoping it would get wild and pick like 4 or 5 random words and stick, 4 or 5 adverbs. So let's just ask it to fix it, right? So at this point, let's make a better adverbifier. And there's 2 ways to do it. One of them is to just copy this prompt and do it again and change, add 4 random adverbs between, that would work actually, or add between 3 and 10 random adverbs. That would work. Let's do that actually. Although let's do that experiment after something here. A different way to do it is to go down to the end of this conversation and you just tell it, and it's going to rewrite the whole thing, which is fine. Sometimes it won't rewrite the whole thing. With a longer Python program, at least, if this was really, really long, it starts to write chunks of it. It'll say, here's the change that you need to make. If that happens, you probably can say, could you just, just give me the whole thing, and probably give you the whole thing, or you could start over. Don't be afraid of asking to change it or asking to start over. So I need to edit this. If I double click this, it's going to open my web browser. So I need to change this back to TXT. And then I can double click it. And I'm actually going to just highlight the whole thing and replace it. And if I were a programmer, I would look to see what it did, but I'm not a programmer, so I'm not. I really am, but okay. So let's try this new one, and let's grab this. And now I wish I put a version number in here so I know which adverbifier I'm using. Make sure that you reload or something like that, or like close all the adverbifier tabs and open it again or something, because you don't want to be using an old version. So this is great. This is what I wanted anyway. Proudly, proudly, quickly, softly, gently, slowly. So this is great. This is what we wanted.
That's great. Nice.
You could, so now, if I can figure out where text edit is. Oh, I guess I closed it. Let me do that same thing again. You can go in here and without knowing any code, you can kind of see that it's got this list here, and you'll notice that all of the words are in single quotes and they're commas. So if you just kind of keep going with that, you won't break things, right? If you're not careful with your quotes and commas and stuff in the right place, it might break, but it won't break your computer or anything like that. It just won't work anymore. So make a backup copy maybe, and then change it. There's an interesting thing here where you could do this, and if you had a programmer sitting over your shoulder, the programmer would say, you're going to have a problem here, because it's choosing this is choosing from 0 to 10, or actually no, maybe not. This is how many adverbs. This is choosing how many adverbs to choose. So this will still work. Depending on the way the algorithms are set up, if you add more things than it expected, if it expected 10 things here, it might not ever choose the extra ones. So I guess if I was hacking the code like this, I would try one and see if it ever happened, which I guess I can just try. And we'll see if Quirkly comes up. Yeah, Quirkly works. So go ahead and feel like if you want to, you can hack the code like that. In a list like that, sometimes changing the number of things in the list will make it so the extra things might not get used. In this case, they are. It didn't write the code so that it would, it doesn't care how many there are.
Can you add this one to the Jackifier list?
I will, yes. So what I'm going to do, and I recommend this for everything, is if you look at a different one, so it's going to take me a day or so. And the reason is, let's do interleaver. I think it's really good to put a version number here. So if somebody says, if I say later, oh, and now there's 20, I would bump the version number. And then, well, maybe I'll explain this later, but it's kind of important to put an attribution on here and then make it open source so other people can copy this and change it. If somebody copies it and changes it, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it would be nice if somebody knew how to find the original again. So this is a clue where to find the original, basically. So I'll do that to a verbifier and get it up by tomorrow sometime. So I added Quirkly there by hand. You could also just go back to ChatGPT and say, could you add, 20 more adverbs? So this is a hard-coded list. This is a quick and dirty thing to do. Makes sense. Going back to the computers are really dumb. They know characters. They don't know like parts of speech without extra code, a lot of extra code, or an LLM. So the reason I asked it specifically for random from a set of 10 adverbs, because I knew that if I said a random adverb, I didn't know what was going to happen. It might decide to pull in a whole bunch of language management code or something like that. So
Yeah.
I wish it were an arbitrary set of adverbs or maybe 100 or something like that. You could say 100 here and it would be fine. But the code that I was kind of working at doesn't necessarily understand language. This is the same thing with Danielle's really great idea of rhyming. JavaScript by itself isn't going to know anything about rhyming. So there might be JavaScript libraries that understand rhyming or parts of speech, things like that, or word lists, but it's another order of complexity past kind of the just simple Jenkifiers, which doesn't mean that it's out of bounds. It's definitely worth. Let's try this real quick. I said the other way to fix this, because it only did one at a time. The other way to fix it is to copy this, start a whole new conversation. Let me take this out and see what it does. I think it'll probably do something similar. And we learned that this is also good too. A random add between 5 to 10. Otherwise, it might just do one. And so every time you do this, it might do it a little bit differently. So another thing you can do actually is just try the same prompt a couple different times and see which one you like. So this is where it actually wrote, you don't have to look at this, but it wrote some, yeah, maybe that's okay. Super sweet that that's this download thing. Maybe we should ask it for that in general. This is downloaded in my downloads directory, so this is a different file. It's even though it's got the same name, it's in a different place. Let's see what this one works like. I'm just going to use that prompt as our sample text. So I would guess that it has a smaller set, just from the look of it, because it's, it's probably got, sadly, loudly, yeah, it's probably got sadly, loudly, and beautifully, and quickly. So 4 or 5 instead of, no, I'm wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I could have left that, I kind of cheated a little bit. I knew that it's gonna have to pick from a set of, a small set. Let's do one more test real quick. Um, well, I was gonna say you could say choose from a set of 100 adverbs or something like that, and it should still kind of work. At some point, it would get weird, but so cool. Let's call it. I'll get last session's recording up soon. I turned out to wanted to blur out the Batman. So I'm learning video editing. I don't know if that was a smart thing or not, but I'll get up that this recording pretty soon, and I'll definitely get adverbifier.html, probably the original one that we wrote with Quirkly, up tomorrow. Thanks so much for being here, folks. And let's do it again.
Thank you so much.
Take
Always
care.
a
Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for not muting me for saying a bad word.
It wasn't a bad word.
True.
I don't think. I didn't hear the bad word.
And thanks
There was none.
Danielle, who I guess left early, but she is the life of the party, definitely.
Cheers,
Bye,
all.
guys.
We'll see you around.
Take
Bye.
care, bye.